Hello, home straight. The feedback I'm getting has been really positive about the sessions today, that there's been some great conversations. So we'll just, and I know people are probably getting tired, but we'll just keep it going a little bit longer to extend those conversations out. And I flagged this morning with Mentimeter that we'd really like to evoke some of your wisdom on a few different aspects that reflect today's themes. So can folks grab their mobiles and head into www.menti.com? And
it's the same code at the top of the screen.
Yep, 7026 9676, right up the very top of the screen. And your first question is, what are the most important qualities in a worker when they're working with somebody with both mental health and substance use concerns? So you can fire in as many responses as you like. But what's your number one? What's the very most important quality to have in that worker? Oh, I love that. Listening. And we heard today about the need for deep listening. Compassion, curiosity, open-minded, empathic, boundaries, humanism, the ability to build a rapport, humble listening. I really, really love that concept of humble listening, active listening, person-centred, intersectional, strengths-focused, strengths-based, family-inclusive, flexibility, we've got all these great systems that are developing, that are changing, but we really want those systems to somehow or another, in addition to everything else, maintain their flexibility. We're always sort of going to be playing catch-up, so we need flexible systems that can wrap around the person we're working with. Changing so quick. 8. How are we going for time? Integrity, non-judgmental, honesty, and the numbers for intersectional are climbing. Hope, resilient, holistic. Advocacy, there's an important one. Warmth, compassion, a human rights framework, to be coming from be informed by a human rights framework. Empty, that's a really nice concept, to be empty, to be meeting this person with no baggage. Gain rapport, accessibility, and that's one close to my own heart, coming from a rural region. What's the accessibility to mental health and AOD services when you live in Corrion? When it's an hour and a quarter's drive to Albury, and there's lots of instances like that around the state. Congruence. I guess systemic congruence in there too. Beautiful. All right, voting's closed. Thanks, folks. And so it looks like the most important quality right at the heart, right at the centre, is that ability to be empathic. I love that a lot. Question 2, and this is a double banger question. Part A is, how confident are you that your service can develop more integrated treatment for people with both mental health and substance use concerns? So thinking of the agency that you work for, scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is totally confident and 1 is very low confidence, how confident are you that your service can develop more integrated treatment? Okay, just about everybody got their answer in there. Okay, we're hovering about a 3.7. We probably should have broken this up on whether you identify as a mental health person or an AOD person. Would have been interesting data. Okay, 3.6. So a bit in the middle, but tending towards optimism. All right. Part B of that question. Voting's closed, beautiful. Okay, part B of that question. So we averaged out at about 3.6. Some people will have been higher, some people will have been lower. But whatever number you picked, can you tell me in 1 or 2 words why you picked that number and not a lower number? Yep. And so I guess what I'm asking you is, what are your reasons for being optimistic that your service can develop more integrated treatment? Service is willing to change, that there are good existing frameworks. We're starting at 0, so is that a new service, I wonder? We're starting at 0. Organisational commitment to integrated care, and I think that's a really, really crucial thing, In the past, we have seen examples where workers would go off to integrated treatment trainings and get enthused about it, but come back and find out that their organisation wasn't committed to it. So it's a critical part of the patchwork of the ingredients we need is to have our organisation aligned, have our managers understanding and enthusiastic about providing integrated care. There are resources available. Because it's important to our community, I believe we can do it. The conversations are already underway about integration. Some frustration there. It's such a slow process. Yep, it's ongoing. It'll occur right through most of our careers. And I guess one of the things is sustainability of change. We heard a bit this morning about sustainability of change. It's a process that we need to keep addressing and addressing and addressing again. There's more awareness on these issues. We have a variety of staff that provide different skill sets and are open to change. Awesome, I want to work there. Great relationships with other services. Diversity and depth of team experience. I think that's such a great observation, Mental health and AOD workers are truly, truly awesome. They know so much. They know so much about change. Often the people who least recognise just how much they know, how much skills they've got are the workers themselves, I think we need to celebrate the existing expertise that's there as well as keep building towards more integrated care. The right mix of people prepared to make a difference. There's commitment. The partnership with Turning Point, we heard about the new statewide centre this morning and the way that they're going to go about consultation, the careful way they're going about consultation and identifying what's going to work for the services across a whole lot of different services. That's a great thing. Culture, commitment, possibilities, that we're realistic about what the goals are. The client-centred thing there, that it's what people need. And there's role clarity. People know how they fit in with integrated treatment, that it's where we're going, that it's what the system expects. Dual diagnosis, addressing people with mental health substance use is core business for us in mental health, in core business for us in AOD. Beautiful. People power. We work, we are really privileged to work with great people who are on about helping other people, people who want to get better at their work. There's resources out there, and particular leaders are dedicated. I work at Turning Point's Mental Health AOD at Eastern Health, so already substantially down the road of fully integrated treatment. Multidisciplinary team. Good community dual diagnosis model to build on, to extend, feeling optimistic, Dual diagnosis is embedded in the services. There's a will, but it's navigating the right way. So there's a perpetual process of figuring out, how in the particular service I work in, the particular agency with its particular remit, can we take next steps towards developing more integrated treatment. Recognition of the influence one has on the other and some of the harms. Dr. Danny, a fan. Yep. Awareness of the recommendations. 2 votes for Dr. Danny. I wish I could have gone to that talk. All right. 2 more questions. In 1 or 2 words, what will be the biggest enabler in successfully implementing integrated care? So in that last question, you've covered some of them, but what do you see as what's really going to help you as a worker or your service to develop integrated care? Communities of practice, collaboration coming in big, funding coming in big. Leadership, resources, traineeships. How do we build those new workers who develop the expertise? Self-determination, program design, lived experience workers, absolutely. Culture change, and I guess change technologies. Leadership is coming in at a solid 3rd, and I guess that's leadership right across the system, from our local services to central DH, communication, organisational support. That's beautiful. So the top 2 in that are collaboration, and I guess that's collaborations between mental health and between AOD services and systems, but also I guess it's collaborations within our services. Who's the dual diagnosis, who's the mental health substance use champion in our service? What's my collaboration with them, or in my whole agency? Collaboration, who's got particular skills that's needed with this particular person? Remember that people with mental health and substance use quite likely might have other concerns. So who's the person who's got particular expertise with whatever the other concern is? That's fantastic. I note the funding in there, and the bad news is that, yes, there's money coming in like waterfalls, or soon to come in like waterfalls. There's money for new staff. The bad news is there will never be enough money. It will never, ever, ever, ever happen. We will always be playing catch up. So I guess part of it, for mine, is working really, really clever with the resources we've got. With throwing, and I think it's such a priority that, Minkoff from the state says we throw every dollar, every policy, every action that we do in the service is around developing that goal of integrated care, because it is so important for outcomes. Thanks, folks. And one last question, and this is in a few words. Can you please describe your most important take-home learning from today? What have you got out of today? Oh, first date, I wonder whether that's cross-sector. Shared optimism, optimism for change, new contacts, can't wait for change. I really want to see this happening. Deep listening. Deep listening, I guess, to the people we work with, deep listening to the colleagues. To work more collaboratively with the lived experience workforce and listen. That's a big theme coming through the deep listening. Dr. Danny, I really wish I'd been to that one. Really enjoyed hearing how the Royal Commission recommendations are being put into practice. The importance of keeping at it, that these things take time, change is slow. Project Echo, policy is not enough to make change happen. You know, change requires a whole web of factors, all aligned, all in the clear direction of the change we want to see. Hope and optimism, and there's great hope and great optimism amongst the people here today. Still have a lot of work to do to build strong foundations for change. There's lots of work ahead. Communication, it's key to effective integration. I guess that's communication always within our systems. And encouragement that things can change. And it's been great today to hear some fantastic examples of integrated treatment that are up there and running now. Dr. Danny, legend. Lived and living experience. Wasn't streamed. Yep. Beautiful. All right. Better understanding of the sector's trajectory and optimism for its prospective integrated care. Never assume one diagnosed condition is more important than the other. Early days for better or worse. System needs to be redesigned to be inclusive of the whole person's needs and responses. Shared community, listening to the experts, of people with lived experience, and that there is some sense of moving forward. You know, we're not stuck. These systems are changing. I've learnt new knowledge about AOD, the similarities between the systems. We're on the right track, collaboration and people first. And somebody noting that gambling addiction is not in the mix. And I think Turning Point is, you know, the new statewide centres there, they've got a strong thread of addressing addiction at Turning Point. And I love this, Aboriginal ways of knowing, being and doing. Yep, the social and emotional model that Cherie gave us this morning. Voting's closed, and a really good one that everyone is trying their best. You know, and sometimes, you know, you need how many good experiences with somebody in another sector or your kids for every bad experience. And, you know, sometimes we're just thrown together when there are really challenging people. So it's finding those opportunities for good exchanges between the sector. All right, thank you, folks. Thank you very much. That is really helpful to us. I was just going to do a quick recap for 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll wrap up, and we'd really encourage people who would like to, you know, many of the stalls are still out there to grab another cuppa and mix. We're in no rush to go. We started the day with Cherie from the Ballot Dern Centre of Excellence in Aboriginal Social and Emotional Wellbeing. And for mine, Cherie really set the tone for the day. Her presentation had abundant generosity behind it. There was a vision, and I loved her invitation to learn and work together. And I loved the social wellbeing model that she presented. You know, clearly, you know, it's got AOD and mental health in there in spades, but so much more depth. You know, so much more reach. You know, that new centre is something that we all have to really keep a close eye on. Yeah. Sam and Marcel, what can you say? Sam has been an advocate for the AOD sector for how long? He's seen so many wheels go round. He's gave a really trenchant analysis of the reforms and their strengths for the AOD sector, and noted 5 things that are necessary for this reform to succeed in the AOD and mental health sector. And that was really supported by Marcel. She identified critical needs for the mental health sector and reinforced the critical role of the AOD sector, the need to address AOD workforce as we address the mental health workforce. And I particularly noticed your emphasis on the sustainability of changes, because we know that often we achieve change and then as the systems come under more pressure, they revert back. So we might achieve integrated treatment. What mechanisms are we building in to make those changes sustainable? Catherine spoke from a departmental perspective. She described the huge amount of work already underway and the work that is yet to come. She emphasised the critical importance of co-design in developing how our services will achieve integrated treatment. She gave us more information about how the department is addressing the prodigious workforce challenges in both the mental health and AOD space, and indicated commitment to addressing the workforce challenges in AOD equally to mental health, and the investments in the lived workforce. Mary O'Hagan, she spoke to the development of lived experience leadership and of a hope that Victoria might be the first site in the world to achieve real, meaningful lived experience leadership. And she spoke pragmatically about how we can scaffold around the Royal Commission's recommendations to achieve true partnership with people with lived experience expertise at the centre. James Horton, wow, and that was one rich talk. It seemed to have so many avenues that you'd really like to hear him go down, but then he pulled it back to the main topic. Around the world of possibilities we now find ourselves in. I've worked in mental health a long time. Much of that there was a sense of stasis, and now we're rolling. And I guess one of the concerns is that we might be rolling too fast before we have a whole lot of the elements in place. I think Sam spoke a bit to that. He provided some great advice around envisaging and creating our new futures, and along with that, letting go of our old visions of what our role was. And there's some challenges in there that I would have liked to hear him speak more to. He spoke to the critical importance of conversations, such as the conversations we've been having here today, and ways that we can keep those conversations going. And I really liked, informed by his startup expertise, that sense that user experience of an app or a service or a clinician is everything. How people feel after they receive a service or use an app. Krista joined us through video link. She spoke to the launch of the new integrated treatment guidelines and all the work that is underway around getting the foundations and the governance right. And Shalini, in the last of the single presentations, updated us on new plans to develop the new statewide centre for addiction and mental health, and the development of 4, eventually 8, addiction services and the reach of those services. She described plans for widespread consultations with all stakeholders to ensure that the plan for the new centre really meets what the needs are out there. Plans for education and training, primary and secondary consultation services. In the breakout room, we've had some fantastic, I'm told, interactive presentations on the lived experience workforce's unique abilities to support people with co-occurring needs, how to implement, build and sustain lived experience workforces, workforce collaboration and directions, some great examples of demonstration examples of AOD and mental health working together, mental health and substance use offending, Dr. Danny, reframing risk and an integrated treatment showcase. So I'd like to express, on behalf of Mental Health Victoria and VADA, I'd like to express our huge thanks to all today's presenters, both for the attention and care they put into today's presentations and for the incredibly valuable work they do. I'd really like to express my own thanks to VADA and to Mental Health Victoria for putting this on and for the opportunity to hear and be engaged in these conversations. It would be great to be able to continue these conversations. And just in concluding, and I know I'm singing to the choir here, you guys are here because you are really interested in ways and approaches and skills and knowledge about developing more integrated treatment and care. I'd like to say just how much I appreciate the chance to meet and talk with you people, and really look forward to seeing the systems that you guys go out and build and construct and flesh out. So I think that's it for the day, and very welcome to join us for a cuppa and a chat out there, keep the conversation going. Thanks, folks.